So Jason. You may introduce you, I can.
Huh?
I can introduce you guys. I am
So once you start,
introducing you, but,
once you move beyond the first slide,
stand or you can wait.
you'll see a back.
So John, this is it right here?
So in case you have to go back. Yes, the green was so. And then if you need to, you can also go to a specific slide. Makes sense? Okay.
So I'm over here.
Yeah, you'll be right here.
Yeah, you can do that.
Gotta practice to make sure my dress doesn't show anything.
Actually, I didn't think that was gonna be. I am. Actually, can I get one of those small bottles of water? Can I get one of those small bottles of water right there?
Okay. Can we have everybody in their places ready to begin? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the annual meeting of stockholders of Mullen Automotive Incorporated. It is now slightly after 9:30 a.m. and in accordance with the notice of annual meeting, I call this meeting to order. I am Carrie Sessler, Chief Financial Officer of the company, and I will act as the chairperson of the meeting. Our Chief Executive Officer, David Mishery, had every intention of being at this meeting, but unfortunately, he unexpectedly took ill this past weekend and was admitted to the hospital with a severe kidney infection. He is most disappointed that he is unable to attend, but he is responding well to treatment and is expected to fully recover and resume full-time work duties. I would like to introduce Mary Winter, our corporate secretary and member of our board. First, we will hold the formal part of the meeting, followed by the presentation after the formal meeting adjournment, with time for questions and answers thereafter. Please hold your questions unless they relate to a proposal on which we are voting today. If any stockholders or proxy holders present did not register at the door before entering the meeting, please sign the register book at the door now. The Inspector of the Elections is required to determine the exact number of shares present at this meeting. As you arrived, you were given an agenda and a copy of the rules of conduct. In fairness to all stockholders attending the annual meeting and in the interest of an orderly and constructive meeting, we will follow the agenda and the rules today. As stated in the rules of conduct, stockholders may not address the meeting until recognized. After you have been recognized, please state your name and your status as a stockholder or as a representative of a stockholder with a valid proxy. Then provide your comment if it is pertinent to an issue being voted on. Thank you in advance for your cooperation. In accordance with our bylaws, the Board of Directors set June 2nd, 2022 as the record date for this meeting. Our transfer agent, Continental Stock Transfer and Trust Company, has provided a certified record of stockholders as of such date. A duplicate record has been on file at the principal executive office of the company for the 10 days immediately prior to the date of this meeting and has been available for inspection by any stockholder during normal business hours for such 10-day period. I hereby designate Christopher Woods to act as the Inspector of Elections for this meeting and any adjournments hereof. Chris has taken his oath as Inspector of Elections. Chris, please present the inspector's report. Thank you. The inspector's oath of office, a certified list of stockholders, and affidavits of mailing will be filed in the minutes of this meeting. We will now proceed to transact the business for which this meeting has been called. Properly submitted proposals are listed on the agenda and in the proxy materials previously distributed to you. Voting requirements for each proposal are set forth in the proxy statement filed with the SEC. Voting will occur after presentation of all proposals. No motions or seconds will be required. The first proposal before our stockholders is the election of 3 Class 1 directors to serve for a 3-year term ending as of our annual meeting in 2025 and until their successors are duly elected and qualified. Upon recommendation of our Nominating and Governance Committee, the board has nominated each Ignacio Novoa, Mary Winter, and David Mishery for election to the board as the Class 1 directors. In accordance with our bylaws, there being no additional nominations, I declare the nominations closed. Our board of directors recommend a vote for election of all of the nominees for Class 1 director. The second proposal before our stockholders is approval of an amendment to our second amended and restated certificate of incorporation, referred to as our certificate of incorporation, to increase the number of authorized shares of common stock to 1.75 billion shares and the authorized number of preferred stock to 500 million shares. Our board recommends that stockholders vote in favor of the amendment to our certificate of incorporation as presented in Proposal 2. The third proposal before our stockholders is approval of the company's 2022 Equity Incentive Plan. Our board recommends that the stockholders vote to approve the 2022 Equity Incentive Plan as presented in Proposal 3. Proposal 4 before our stockholders is the approval of the issuance of common stock to David Mishery pursuant to a performance stock award agreement approved by our board of directors. NASDAQ listing rule 56335C requires the company to obtain stockholder approval of this proposal. Our board recommends that the stockholders vote in favor of the equity award as presented in Proposal 4. Proposal 5 before our stockholders is approval in compliance with NASDAQ listing rule 5635D of the potential issuance of Series D preferred stock and warrants and the underlying shares of common stock upon conversion of Series D preferred stock and or exercise of the warrants, as well as future adjustments of the respective conversion and or exercise prices. Our board recommends that the stockholders vote in favor of Proposal 5. Proposal 6 before the stockholders is ratification of the appointment of Dasco Bolden LLP as the company's independent registered public accounting firm for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2022. Our board recommends that the stockholders ratify such appointment. Are there any questions regarding any of the matters before the meeting today? Okay. Hearing none. As this concludes presentation of the proposals on the agenda, we will move on to voting. Most stockholders voted on the internet, by telephone, by mail, or turned in a proxy card. If you have signed a proxy card and do not wish to change your vote, it is not necessary to complete a ballot. The polls are now open. Please raise your hand if you need a ballot or have a proxy card to turn in. If you are already returned a proxy card and do not intend to change your vote, your shares will be voted in accordance with that card unless you wish to change your vote at this time. If you are voting today, please mark your ballot now. We have some people here. Is there anyone else? Okay. I hereby declare the polls closed for each matter voted. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, all right. Okay. I hereby declare the polls closed for each matter voted upon at this meeting. And I'll give you a few minutes to tabulate the votes.
Yeah, basically, the preliminary numbers, we need the votes today. Preliminary results, proposal one, issuing master of law and heritage agreement, duly elected to the board of trustees, being time expired on the 2025. Budget proposal two, issue authorized special common preferred stock, as approved. Proposal three, regarding the company's 2022 incentive plan, as approved. Proposal four, relating to the reverse comparative true by approved. Proposal five, for issuance of Series D preferred stock and warrants and non-warrant shares of common stock, converting Series D preferred stock and/or exercise of warrants as well as the adjustments of the respective conversion and/or exercise prices also approved. And proposal six, the appointment of as available to the funds and the rates of the county fiscal year ending September 30, 2022 was also approved.
Okay, I just want to make one correction. It is David Mishery. I'm Carrie. David Mishery should be as part of the preliminary results, not Carrie Sackler. Thank you. That's okay. That's okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Chris. We will file a Form 8K reporting the final results with respect to the matters voted on today on or before Monday, August 1st, 2022. This now concludes the formal business of the meeting. On behalf of the Board of Directors, I declare this annual meeting adjourned. The company presentation will follow, and at this point I want to introduce Jason Putnam, our VP of Marketing, and John Sung, our VP of Finance. So behind me is our presentation. And I want to read this disclaimer verbatim. This presentation is for discussion purposes only. The materials based upon information that we consider reliable, but we do not represent that is accurate or complete, and it should not be relied upon as such. The material available in this presentation may contain forward-looking statements which are subject to risk, uncertainties, and assumptions. In some cases, you can identify these statements by forward-looking words such as may, might, will, should, expect, plan, anticipate, believe, estimate, predict, optimistic, potential, future, or continue. The negative of these terms and other comparable terminology. Such forward-looking statements are based on current plans, estimates, and expectations and are made pursuant to the Private Securities Litigation Reform Act of 1995. Forward-looking statements are based on known and unknown risks, assumptions, uncertainties, and other factors. The company's actual results, performance, and achievements may differ materially from any future results, performance, or achievements expressed or implied by such forward-looking statements. We do not assume responsibility for the accuracy or completeness of any forward-looking statement, and you should not rely on forward-looking statements as predictions of future events. We are under no duty to update any of these forward-looking statements to conform them to actual results or revised expectations. Any investment in Mullen Automotive Incorporated will be subject to certain risks related to the nature of the company's business and the structure and the operations of the company. Any investment in the company should be made only with the appreciation of the applicable risks, which are described in the company's filings with the SEC. Now, this is just a snapshot of the company, and I want to draw your attention to not to our plant in Tunica, Mississippi, or our headquarters in Brea, but we have a new automotive center coming in Irvine, California. Three things I want to bring out on the key highlights here is the development of the Mullen 5 RS, a high-performance version of the Mullen 5 EV crossover, and we will commence Mullen 5 test drive tour, I think, later this year. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And for battery technology, Mullen's partnership with LLG is on track, with both parties jointly scaling solid-state polymer battery cell technology to the vehicle pack level. And the last thing is the Mullen, on the Mullen commercial vans. Mullen signed a binding agreement with Dell Pack Logistics LLC to deliver 600 Mullen Class 1 and Class 2 EV cargo vans over the next 18 months. Some financial highlights. The best thing I want to report is we have cash, $61 million in cash and cash equivalents at the end of Q2 2022. And we also joined the Russell 2000 and 3000 indexes, added to the appropriate growth and value indexes for those. I think the last thing we want to probably draw out would be we have additional funding to secure $275 million used for our strategic vision and plans. And then the last thing is that I want to bring out is the strategic EV partnerships that have been announced with Hofer Powertrain, Durr, and Mark. Now I'm going to take a few minutes, and Jason and John will take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Again, my name is Jason Putnam. I'm the VP of Marketing. John and I will walk you through some of our recent activity that we've had in the organization, some of our accomplishments, and we just ask that you hold any questions till the end of the meeting. We will have a brief Q&A. We are more than happy to answer or ask any questions that you might have. So I'll start with the Mullen 5 EV crossover in volcanic red. Really exciting year for us. We debuted that vehicle in November at the 2021 LA Auto Show to great acclaim. What we're doing moving forward, as Carrie had highlighted, later this fall we will start a strikingly different tour where We're going to visit roughly 20 cities across the U.S., starting in California, going through the southeast, up the East Coast, and back through the Midwest. So our current plan is to start that tour in October, wrap that up before November, and then another exciting program that we've started and we've got lots of activity on right now is the Mullen Rs. The Mullen Rs is David's, one of David's dreams is to really build one of the fastest vehicles in the world, and we have full intention that the Mullen Rs will be able to compete at that level. That's a vehicle that we will have available in the beginning of 23 that will actually go on the second leg of the Mullen 5 tour, which currently we have planned for Q1. So lots of great activity that we have on the 5, and again, these are some images that we had from the 2021 LA Auto Show. So taking a quick look at our competitors and market positioning, we've positioned the 5 in the segment to be competitive at a price point of $55,000 starting price. And you can see from that standpoint, it does line up from a range and a price standpoint well with the current market. If we look at the market leader, Tesla with the Model X and the Model Y, and then the Ford Mach-E, which has done quite well over the last couple of years. Those are 2 vehicles that we are paying attention to, and 2 that we see ourselves benchmarked against in the market. Beginning of 2021, we actually, if I back up a bit, we actually started this at the end of last year, and it moved into 21, where we did a significant consumer survey. So what we wanted to do was go out and find out exactly what the market thought of a newcomer like Mullen against industry competition that is well established. So what we did is we took the Mullen 5 and we benchmarked it against the Ford Mach-E California edition and the Tesla Model Y. We presented that to roughly 4,000 people who took a look at the vehicles side by side, looked at the specs, looked at the highlights of those vehicles and compared them. What we found is that the Mullen 5 has reached parity with both the Tesla Model Y and the Ford Mach-E, putting us into a consideration point for consumers, which highlights a great opportunity for us moving forward. We definitely hit the mark on the design of the Mullen 5, a very attractive vehicle that has really resounded well with consumers across the country. Persona is some interesting vehicle technology that we'll be debuting on the Mullen 5 tour later this fall. It starts on the outside of the car, and again, that's where you're going to be able to walk up to it. We're going to have facial recognition that will actually recognize you and personalize the car. So as you walk up to the vehicle, starting at roughly 6 feet, 8 feet, the vehicle is going to wake up. It's going to recognize you. By the time you get in the vehicle, your profile will be set, the car will be on, climate control, infotainment will be set to your liking. The idea there is you no longer have to carry a key, you no longer have to carry a card, you don't even necessarily have to carry a smartphone. The car will recognize you and be able to activate and turn itself on based on that. Now, some other features of Persona are going to be pet mode. One of the highlights with electric vehicles is there's no engine hum. So oftentimes you can have a vehicle sitting there that looks like it's off. There's no discernible sound coming from the vehicle. You could see some family members or maybe a pet sitting in the vehicle, and there could be some concern, especially with pets. So what we're going to do with Persona is we're going to notify people on the outside that that vehicle is set to a comfortable temperature for the pet and that there's nothing to worry about. We'll also be able to display charging stats. So what I mean by that is if the vehicle is plugged in at a public charger, we'll be able to notify anybody that's around the vehicle that the car is plugged in. If it's approaching its full charge, that we've notified the owner of the car and that owner is coming back to the vehicle, so that if there's any potential issues with customer or with frustration with other people waiting for a charger, they'll be notified that that vehicle has notified the owner and the owner is returning. We'll also be able to understand gestures. So if we have somebody that maybe has ill intent, that's walking around the vehicle, maybe lurking around the vehicle too long, we'll also be able to notify that customer or that person that the vehicle is alarmed. and that it's recording. So in those cases, what we'll do is we'll activate the camera system based around the vehicle. 2 cameras in the B-pillars of the vehicle, front and back, multiple cameras, side mirrors, multiple cameras. So you're looking at 8 to 10 cameras that will activate and start recording based on that activity around the car. The intention there is if somebody is lurking, to notify them that the car is recording and to hopefully push them down the road into another direction. And again, we'll be displaying this technology when we launch the 5.2 later this year. Now I'm going to hand it over to John, who's going to walk us through the timeline and the EV cargo van program. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. So after the introduction of the Mullen 5 at the LA Auto Show, we officially kicked off the program January of 2022. We're currently in the second phase of the program, and we are on schedule to meet the architectural freeze milestone by January of 2023. Afterwards, we are heading towards the packaging freeze at August of next year. Now, working in tandem with the Mullen 5 program, we are also working on an EV fleet van program, which we are calling the Mullen 1 program. The initial vehicle of the Class 1 van will offer a max payload of 2,400 pounds, a modular 144 square cubic feet of cargo area, which can be easily adapted to custom configurations for each client's different needs. An optional upgrade to the battery pack will be available as well, which will increase the battery to 79.2 kilowatt hours and up to 100 kilowatt hour motors. This will provide the van with an increased speed of max up to 80 miles an hour and a range up to 200 miles an hour. There are currently very few options in the Class 1 market today, and none of them are EV. The Nissan NV actually, as of 2022, is no longer available in the United States, which leaves a gap in the market for Mullen to take advantage of. Along with the Class 1, we will also be offering the Class 2 van as well. It's a larger van which has a 460 cubic feet of cargo space and also offers increased speed and range. Moving to the battery technology, as mentioned in the highlights at the beginning of the presentation, Mullen has partnered with LGG to research and develop the solid-state polymer battery cell technology to the vehicle pack level. Our current plan is to introduce it in our second generations of the Mullen 5 vehicles. This battery technology will offer significant increase to the range, degradation, and safety than the current state of battery packs that are in vehicles today. I'll hand it back over to Jason.
Thank you, John. So again, we debuted the vehicle at the 2021 LA Auto Show. We received some stats that came back from the auto show post the event, and some really interesting findings. The Mullen 5 was actually one of the top 5 vehicles that had awareness post the event. So consumers recalled the Mullen 5 more often than most vehicles that were there. So again, highlighting the fact that we've hit the mark on the design and the attractiveness of the vehicle in the market. We had over 70,000 people come through the show, quite a bit of earned media that came from it as well. Some of you have maybe followed that and seen some of that activity. And again, we'll continue to build upon that as we move forward with the 5.2 later this year. Moving to Lounge Point, I just want to talk a little bit about what our overall focus is in the market from a retail perspective. So Lounge Point is our focus on the retail dealership experience. We'll open these Lounge Points in locations across the U.S., high density areas, lots of foot traffic, community centers where we have a 3,000 to 5,000 square foot footprint that consumers with a lot of pedestrian traffic flow back and forth. and really open up our lounge points to the community and as a place where people can come and experience not only Mullen the brand, but the vehicles that we have available. So our current plan right now is what we call a hybrid approach to the sales model. And that's going to be where we go direct in states that allow the direct sales model to success. Some of you may be aware that there are quite a few states that do allow for direct EV sales, but not to what I call success. That's where it's very limited in terms of the number of dealerships that these direct EV companies can have. In some cases, those EV companies can't service the vehicle in the same state that they're allowed to sell it in. So you have a lot of potential consumer issues with overall ownership experience. So one of the things that we're looking at is a hybrid approach where we will go direct in states that allow that, but then we will have a traditional franchise model in states where it maybe isn't the best advantage for the customer to do that. So if we do have a state where it does make sense to do the franchise model, then that's what we're looking at as well. So overall, we're looking for an opportunity that's not a traditional dealership experience where you're going off to a dealership row off the expressway with a 70,000 to 100,000 square foot facility. We're looking to have these smaller footprints that are much more local and much more accessible and open to customers coming in and experience both the brand and the vehicles. So following up on what I just said about that success, that customer success once you sell a vehicle, this is a really interesting survey that just came out from Pied Piper. I think it came out last week. If you look at the bottom of the list, all the EV players that are in the market are at the bottom. And it's because of that customer experience. So at the top, we have Cadillac, Infiniti, and Mercedes-Benz that are rounding out the top three for that post-sale customer experience. What's that ownership experience like? At the bottom, you have Tesla, Lucid, Polestar, and Rivian. So the reality is EVs are new vehicles and customers have a lot of questions. So the opportunity for Mullen is to go to market and create a model that is open to those customers and is there for those customers when they have those questions and those issues. Now, some of the ways we can solve that are with launch teams that will be in the market that will be able to go out and visit customers that maybe have those ownership questions. Maybe you just bought the vehicle and you're not completely sure of all the technology that's in it. Cars today are difficult to use. There's a lot that's in them and it leaves a lot of lingering questions. We'll make our teams available to go out and work with those customers one-on-one. We'll have live support that's available. We'll have in-car support as well. We can push live updates to the vehicles. If we see something in the vehicle that maybe is wrong or that maybe a software update can fix, we'll be able to work with that customer proactively to make that update on the vehicle and provide a better customer experience. So there's definitely a lot of opportunity for us in the market to really drive that customer experience, and that's something that we're focused on for sure. I'll hand it back to John for manufacturing. Thank you.
So currently, Mullen owns a manufacturing facility in Tunica, Mississippi. The structure is currently 120,000 square foot, which is fully equipped and will serve as Mullen's Advanced Manufacturing and Engineering Center. The building currently sits on 100 acres and will have a lot of room to expand. In fact, in our model, we currently intend to build out an additional 1.2 million square foot facility on top of the 100,000 to make it 1.3 million square foot. With that expanded plant will include a full body shop, a paint shop, general assembly area, and a test track on the facility as well. I'll hand it back to Carrie.
Now just a few highlights from upcoming events. A couple things I want to point out. We are looking at doing a few acquisitions in the EV space. We're continuing to grow and things that will fit in with our strategic vision. Acquisition of an additional factory and high volume production to advance the Mullen 5 program and various new programs, which we will disclose soon. And then lastly, acquisition and introduction of an advanced level 2 charger and infrastructure plan. So we have a lot of things coming up in the future, which shows that Mullen has a lot of plans and continued growth. Lastly, I want to thank everyone for coming, and I do want to recognize a few people. So a person that you've probably been seeing running around is part of the legal team, or has our legal team, is Stephen Wilbur and Sean, Mr. Hughes here, and also his wife, Alyssa. Is there anybody else that I'm missing? They've all been working very hard behind here to make this a very success today. So thank you very much. We will now answer any questions. Before we begin, let me remind everyone that today's comments regarding management's beliefs, expectations, and plans for the future are forward-looking statements made in reliance upon the safe harbor provisions of the Private Securities Litigation Reform Act of 1995. Forward-looking statements are not guarantees of future performance and are subject to various risks, uncertainties, and assumptions that are difficult to predict. Therefore, actual results may differ materially from those expressed in any forward-looking statements. Forward-looking statements can be affected by many factors, including those described in the risk factors and management's discussion and analysis sections of our 2019 annual report on Form 10-K, our quarterly reports on Form 10-Q, and other filings with the SEC. These documents are available online at www.sec.gov. Lastly, our forward-looking statements are based on information currently available to senior management, and the company has not assumed any duty to update such statements. Anyone wishing to address the meeting, please state your name and proceed with your question or comment. Any questions?
That's a great question. Thank you, Adam. The question was, there's a highlight over the E in our new branding, and we started that at the beginning of the year, or actually with the LA Auto Show last year. So the intention is it's subtle. It's actually if you look at it closely, it's also represents a battery in positive position. We also use the E to call out the electric focus of our company. And we also use it in conjunction with the 5. So oftentimes you'll see some branding, and there's some running over here on one of the screens where you'll see the Mullen icon with the Mullen name, and then you'll see 5 come in underneath it. That draws attention vertically to EV, electric vehicles. So again, it's there to draw attention, and it's a smart kind of approach to a battery in positive vertical format. So the question is the focus of the lounge points. So yes, there will be chargers that will be available at those locations. Those are, again, our experience centers that customers can come to. They can look at the vehicle, they can order the vehicle, they can test drive the vehicle, and then we will have charging available as well. It's going to be on a case-by-case basis because not every location is going to be the same. Especially with us trying to fit those locations in those 3,000 to 5,000 square foot range, you're oftentimes not going to be standalone locations that could support, a dedicated number of chargers per se. So it will change based on the location. Service centers will also be in close proximity. We don't, at this point, are not envisioning that the service centers will be close to the retail center. Or I'm sorry, will be combined with the retail center, but they will be in close proximity. So you could see, if we have a Mullen Lounge Point in downtown Pasadena, you could have a service center that's maybe in Monrovia, 5 or 6 or 7 miles away. Maybe it's off the expressway, an easy spot for customers to get to. But we will make those service centers close to each location as well. Yes, sir. We are currently planned for Florida. Yeah, there's a couple of locations that we'll have in the fall session. Your specific question is, will the RS be included in Florida? It will. There's another location that we have in Florida that will be in the 23 version, which will be in the early part of the year. Yep.
Will the 5 go to Florida in the first month?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So the RS, the 5 right now, are going to have persona active?
Correct. Yeah. So the 5 tour will be allowing our reservation holders and the general public to come out and experience the vehicles, test drive the vehicles, and we will be showcasing technology. It will be both persona on the outside of the vehicle, but then also our infotainment stack in the vehicle as well.
So 5, we have one store there. They're going to be open road there.
We will be doing them on private locations because they're currently not certified. They won't be certified yet, so those vehicles will be doing in their private locations, tracks, stadium parking lots, things like that, where we'll allow the customer to drive the vehicles, but they won't be on the open roads. They won't be licensed for the open roads yet.
You know what the RS is, like when we get 2023, we're going to have 5s that are certified?
Well, our plan to start. Right now, the production of the 5, which will begin in 24, and then the vehicles will be available in 25. So the road-ready vehicles that are certified by the Department of Transportation and the EPA and all the certifications you need will be sometime in that range. It won't be in 23. The vehicles that we're taking on the test drive tour are going to be vehicles that are specifically for the test drive experience. So they'll be fully vetted Mullen 5s, but they won't have those certifications that allow us to drive them on the public roads. Yes, sir.
Next, Spencer, I have a question about I got a Mullen Reserve. I do want to get the RS version. Is there a way that I can switch to Reserve?
Mm-hmm. So so the question is I'm just repeating it for people that are online. The question was, will the RS be reservable as well? We will make that available later this year. Yep. Yeah.
Is there any discussion or information about the one, the one deal that's coming up soon, that we have about the one sale?
You refer to the question is the Mullen 1 EV cargo van, correct? We haven't announced, I think what you're referring to is the announcement on who the customer is. We haven't done that yet. We're still in, what we did is we've picked up the vehicles. They've gone back to California. We've retrofitted the vehicles with, I think John had highlighted it, a larger battery pack,
79.2
kilowatts and an increased motor based on what the customer's expectations were and the feedback that they had. So our current plan right now is to deliver those vehicles back in August to the customer, and with the goal of announcing who the customer is and an order with the customer.
Was that something you guys intercepted, kind of knowing your needs, or sort of tweaked that before they asked for the AV, or you just kind of worked that?
Based on direct feedback, what their use case is. In some cases, like New York City, for example, the current vehicle is perfect. But if you get into some other parts of the country where maybe the distance between point A and point B is longer, they need longer range and they need more power, depending on what they're carrying in the vehicle. So that was direct feedback from the customer. We expect that both of those options on the vehicle, the lower pack and the higher pack, will serve the market.
That wasn't a problem before. I think the UK has them at 45 or 70 or something.
Mm-hmm.
But this wasn't a problem.
Not that I'm aware of at this point, no. Mm-mm, no. And that's the vehicle team that's handling it. I mean, I'm aware of it. I'm close to it, but I've not been made aware of any issues that we have with the additional battery pack and the motor on the vehicle.
When the ones start really rolling heavy, are they going to be in Tunica? Is that going to be?
Correct.
We're going to be seeing them in Tunica?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, we currently are planning now a smaller expansion to facilitate the one program, and that's the program that gets us to revenue soon, right? So
Yeah.
while you have the 5 program that you're looking at, 25, we can start that revenue stream sooner with the Mullen 1 program, and that's the full intention. Is that Tunica will be the location where we're ramping up that production. And we are starting a small expansion there now to support it.
And I see those are you going to be doing more assembly in Tunica, or are you going to do parts of the one, or is the one, because I see the ones coming over now with like VIN already.
Mm-hmm.
So are we going to be having US VIN put on, are we going to be doing more of a
Mhm.
different aspect of Tunica?
Yeah, so the vehicles now do come over VIN. They are kits that we are retrofitting and packaging them according to what the customer expectations are and requirements. So yeah, the vehicle will be assembled in Tunica, and we will do the modifications to the vehicle based on what the customer is looking for.
So Tunica, we're going to be putting a lot of people to work there, probably.
Yeah. I mean, as John stated, we've got if you've seen the facility, there's lots of room for expansion. I mean, we have 100 acres now. We can definitely build out to 1.2, 1.3 total million square feet. There's room for even further opportunity there as well. And Tunica, which is 50 miles south of Memphis, is in a great infrastructure for transportation. It's a great transportation sector of the U.S. where, if we have steel coming in for frames and things like that, we can ship it on the Mississippi. We've got multiple rail lines that run through there, multiple interstates that intersect. And then if you look at that southeast region, that's really has turned into what they call the Detroit South area of the country, where you've got different manufacturers in Tennessee with Nissan and other companies in North Carolina, Texas. So there's also a strong body of suppliers that have started in that region and been in that region now for over 20 years to support those other manufacturers. So it's a great sector of the U.S. for us to establish ourselves and to start hiring. So.
Is the sports car aspect, they're going to be out of California once that's all ironed out?
Yeah, the plan is the sports car is, and that's you're referring to the Dragonfly. Yeah. So the plan with the sports car is once we iron out the details with on the relationship, then that could go to Mississippi. It could go to the Tennessee area. There's lots of options available to us as well. And I think as Carrie had highlighted, we are looking at an expansion into another facility. There's a couple opportunities in front of us right now that provide a new manufacturing footprint, which is a very turnkey solution for a very good volume that would absolutely satisfy what we have for the Mullen 5 and maybe even another program. So.
I got to circle back to the whole last mile aspect, last mile delivery of the hot tank. That's obviously that's footprint, right? The little one with the last mile delivery.
Yeah, and that's it's an interesting segment. I mean, if you look at and John had highlighted it in his presentation. That market, if you look at Class 1, Class 1 is controlled by ICE vehicles, internal combustion engine vehicles. There's no EV player in the market, and the three companies that control it control basically 70, 75, 80% of the market. You have Ford with the Transit Connect, you have Stellantis with the ProMaster, and then you have Nissan that had the NV program. Nissan pulled out of the market last year, so 2021, I think they sold some 21s and 22, but it was just a few. So, and Nissan was, the third player in the market who's now pulled out. Now I expect them to come back in the market with something else, but there is an open opportunity now. And there's definitely a lot of opportunity and a lot of interest for Class 1 and Class 2 cargo vans. We see it now on a very regular basis, the inquiries that we have come in from major companies out there. And it's really we all know, Amazon has become its own logistics player in the market. But if you look at the pandemic and what the pandemic has done is it's really opened up a lot of other retailers to delivering product. So grocery stores, for example, CVS, Walgreens, Best Buy. Everybody is now making that available to customers as an experience and an option. So there's lots of opportunity at Class 1. Class 1 allows the vehicles, they're under a certain weight class. So at Class 1, you could have somebody with a standard driver's license be a driver for that vehicle without needing the additional requirements over 10,000 pounds. So there's lots of opportunity in that market.
Yeah, another question. Thanks, sir. I own a small business. I'm interested in buying some vans, like maybe like 1 to 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can someone like me get into buying them?
Yeah, absolutely. Small business owners. And that's the addressable market. That's the target market as well. So let's pick up a conversation after this and we can talk a little bit more about it. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
First and foremost, second, regarding the government loan, can you share the details of the status of that?
We don't have anything. Do you have anything that you want to share on it? There's nothing that we've publicly released recently on it. That application is in process. It has been submitted, and that's the.
Yeah, so it is in process, and the DOE is reviewing that. John, do we have a little bit more color? John is actually worked on that project.
The only thing that we can say is that we did submit it on April 30th of this year. We submitted it to the DOE, and it's currently in review with them at the moment.
That's all we have.
Yeah.
Do you expect them the deadline or something like that?
They don't give us a deadline. We communicate back and forth with them, and that's how it's been going currently.
Yeah, we have a very good working relationship with them.
Question regarding the brand, I think Mullen has a really nice opportunity to traction with the retail investors. Investors for selling lots of the brand. You're just planning to do anything these guys to embrace them, with brand recognition.
We'll talk about the t-shirts.
Yeah.
I can give an example, like other companies that are doing, some companies that there are quite a few examples, we'll talk about it later, that they recognize the power of the retail investors, and if they leverage it correctly, can go very far. At the end of the day, the company, the CEO of the company needs to bring value to the investors.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, there's a big opportunity, and we have one of the most actively traded stocks out there. It does have a lot of momentum on it. It does have a lot of activity overall. Even if you just back up a second, you look at the segment that we're in. It's the second largest advertising spend in the world. Behind automotive is number 2 behind retail. So, you know, for an up and coming company like Mullen, we have to be aggressive, but we have to be smart, and we have to be creative of how we get the brand out there. We're able to compete with the more established players that are out there that have the $100 million+ per quarter that they spend on advertising. So, yeah, I'd be happy to have a conversation after this as well. Just doing a check on time because we do have this room until. All right, okay. It looks like we're going to have to end it up. I'm more than happy to take any other questions that you guys have offline. But again, we want to thank everybody for coming today, especially those that came in. If you traveled yesterday, you probably ran into some weather and had some issues getting in here, so we thank you. Everybody online, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you all on the Mullen 5 tour coming up later this year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.